have no idea what's going on. My mind is spinning, it's going round and round. I feel as though I'm about to hit the ground.
Do you want to expand a little bit then on the obverse of that, and that is
what the gospel does?
what the gospel does?
Oh, yes.
10 minutes.
Oh, no, only a couple of minutes. Okay, what does the gospel do? Okay. When I've been writing this book, I've actually got a wonderful diagram showing how the conscience works, right? And in our brains, we've got a little thing called amygdala, sitting in the nucleus about here and here. And this thing pivots on fear and love. So the Apostle John had it right. Perfect love is the obverse to fear, right? When you say the word cast out fear, everyone's thinking of demons. So I try not to use the word cast out fear, because then they say everything's a spirit of fear. So put it this way, we tend to flip-flop between fear and love. Our brain flip-flops between fear and love. When we've flipped onto the love side, our neurology changes, hormones changes, worldview changes, and all the research shows capacity to see, hear, understand, receive information goes up. When we flip onto the fear side, all the research shows heightened awareness, we shrink our field of view, we can't think of things other than what we're focusing on, we can't receive external information, we can't function, we freeze, we become stiff, and off we go. Right? Now, if my amygdala believes that God is essentially an ugly creature who's out to get me, I'm flipped onto the fear side. If I believe I'm separated from God because I'm relationally separated, I'm flipped onto the fear side. Right? Guilt from the conscience will lock the fear down. So the fear switch gets locked by guilt. We get locked by guilt. And guilt is locked by our conscience. And by the way, we didn't mention in the last take that most people think their conscience is God and that obeying their conscience gets them back to God. It doesn't. The conscience was put into the human race by, in the story, Adam and Eve ate from the fruit which Satan gave them. So if you want to face it, morality was put into the human race by Satan. Just swallow that one for a while. So I'll say it again. Morality was put into the human race by Satan. Swallow that one for a while. Have a look at it. Genesis 3, work it through. It's there. Right, anyway, so love, fear. Fear gets locked by guilt. Guilt is locked by the conscience. Once I'm locked in fear, I've got all this cascade going on, I've got all my defences, I've got all my striving we spoke about earlier. So what is the gospel? God comes to it and says, you're forgiven. And then we wrestle with that. We don't believe it. It comes and goes. But eventually, when we're forgiven, the padlock on fear is undone. And we can switch over to receive love. As we receive love, our brain enters another universe. By this stage, the conscience can't be God. Guilt can't be driving us. I'm in love. When I'm in love, I now know I'm not separated. I now know Christ is in me. Separation's gone, rejection's dropping. As I know I'm loved and my conscience is dropping, my internal defences against my Bruce start dropping, and myself, which I've split into my good Bruce and my bad Bruce, the defences start dropping, and I start meeting myself. Next problem, I start meeting my body. Because I've been locked at my cerebral thing, because everything's good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, can't feel. As I drop down into my body, I discover I've got emotions in my body. I discover I've got a sexuality. I discover I've got a body. And Christianity isn't escaping the body, it's being in flesh. It's different. I thought we had to deny the flesh, whatever that means. I thought we had to deny the body. I thought we had to have death to ourselves. All these misquoted, terribly distorted things. Right? So then you start discovering you've got a body, you start discovering you've got emotions. That becomes scary then, because then you discover you've got emotional parts and states in yourself. You discover you're a bit of chaos. But then that starts coming together. And the emotions start coming together. And then you start becoming aware of this deep childhood pain that you've got inside yourself. This where you feel alone, scared, and hurt right down deep. And you thought, oh, and this is the stage when you come into the gospel, you look worse before you get better. And so people who enter religion and strive, they look great for a couple of years. Oh, stainless steel, crisp and shining, until all the pus bursts out. Right? You enter the gospel and your defences drop, and all the crap comes back. And you look a mess. You look a real mess. Right? You do. And then your defences against your internal pain drop, and then you start knowing, oh, and then you start knowing underneath are the everlasting arms from Deuteronomy. And you start becoming aware of being held underneath in your deepest pain when you don't think it's possible. And then you start becoming aware of Christ is in you and you're in Christ and you're held. And then all your shit starts coming back and you start becoming one. Interesting, everything of God leads to union. Behold, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one God. Not singular, one. Everything of evil leads to dissociation and fragmentation. So the gospel leads to mental health if the true Christ is proclaimed, not the dodgy Christ. If the Lord is proclaimed who holds all things together, who's become human. If the fact that it doesn't depend on me is proclaimed, because if it depends on me, I'm screwed. Right? And the people who want to make it dependent on you and me, as I've said so many times, come with me down to the home for incurables, to Julia Farr in South Australia. Come down and sit on the cross where, one of the cross aisles where you've got wards of disabled, brain damaged people, and tell me what good news you've got to proclaim to these vegetables. If you don't have anything to proclaim that speaks of the goodness of God for broken humanity, you haven't got anything to say. But we're no different to those people. We would not be healing if Christ wasn't in us and we didn't do it. So the gospel of Christ's works leads to the healing of the human soul. Now then what happens? I start meeting Wesley, and apart from admiring his bald head and his beard, which I don't have, I then start relating with Wesley as a human. It's not just good, bad. Wesley's got emotions, he's got feelings, he's got thoughts. Start relating with Stuart. What's Stuart feeling? Start relating. All around. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? So it's not just good, bad, superficial. Because when you're in the dodgy gospel and your conscience is working on you, well, I'm going to get there. And I've just got to check all of you and make sure that, because I'm going to get there even if you're not.
So I'm going to help you if you disagree.
Yeah, and I'm comparing myself to everybody to get there. It's sick. Because Christ is in the human race. Christ is in my brothers. And in the dodgy gospel, I'm comparing and excluding my brothers with Christ in them. Can you see how sick it is? And so I've contrasted the two views.
I think what I'd like to add to that is, I'm not exactly sure where it is in the Bible, it's that a voice cries out from heaven, I think after Jesus was baptised or after the transfiguration, this is my beloved Son, in whom my soul delights. I am so pleased with you. And I think that is what the Spirit says deep down within us. You are my beloved child in whom my soul delights.
Where's separation in that?
Yeah, that's right. But that's a constant cry. It can be in the depths of darkest days. We can count on the fact, we can count on the gospel that the Father is saying deep within our being, you are my beloved child in whom my soul delights. I'm so pleased with you. I'm so happy to have you in my life. This is what I've dreamed about before the foundation of the world. That's the gospel.
Amen.
And can you also then go so far as to say that whether you believe in me or not, that's true? Which means that we don't walk around separating people into believers and unbelievers, or Christians, or fitting the mould yet or not. And it also means that when someone who's not a Christian loves their child, it's not from a different source. It's the same love. In fact, I reckon if we look at the fear-driven Christians that are quite pervasive around, including myself in the past, and learning to undo it a bit, perhaps people sometimes who are not heavy laden with religion actually love more beautifully in some cases, many cases, perhaps most, I don't know. It's why people who are not Christians paint so beautifully, that play music so exquisitely, because, you know, it's not a different source. It's not a different, you know, Father, Son, Spirit only put music into Christians. Well, that's not going to work. I think we even had a nice song back in the 70s or 80s that said, "Why does the devil have all the good music?" Interesting, very cool, yeah. So, and then, as I quickly mentioned before, this idea of having a disagreement. If someone disagrees with you, it's an affront to you because you're doing the right thing. As you come into the freedom of knowing you are loved and accepted and it's not up to you and Christ has done it and you're included, then if someone disagrees with you, you can actually explore why they disagree with you. And you might find that you're wrong. Or they may find that there's common ground in between both of you and actually comes up with the most beautiful answers to things that would never have been found if it was just you and just them. People get together, they talk, they discuss, you know. It even happened here this evening at the end of our last session. We were talking, and members who are here with us tonight had things that came to them and they were able to express them and went, "Oh, that's another good point." So we actually had more beauty than just three people up here giving their own bit.
We need to discuss something, right?
It's been day after day of things going wrong. I have no idea what's going on. My mind is spinning, it's going